Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce you now. Susan Myers has spent most of her life experiencing an extremely frustrating journey, struggling with digestive issues and mental health problems. Susan has tried several calorie depriving and extreme diets until discovering different diets, including paleo and keto, before she eventually found the most success and health benefits with a carnivore diet. On the carnivore diet, she found that by avoiding all of the toxins and anti-nutrients found in plants, and by embracing the most nutrient-dense foods and animal products, she was able to find her best health ever. Susan eventually retired at the age of 57 and found YouTube videos on carnivore, which inspired her to continue to give it a try. Susan is now a 60-year-old woman who has been thriving on carnivore for the past several years. She talks about her approach to her diet, including how often she eats without weighing her food, and how it has helped her improve her health, including fixing her hair loss. You can find Susan and her very inspiring journey on Instagram at Catholic_carnivore64. Susan Myers, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Thanks for having me.
It is such an honor to have you. It was such an honor to meet you in person in Austin, Texas this year. We had such a good time at the Hack Your Health conference this year. It's just so great to get together with all of our friends from all over the country and be able to hang out and not feel like we're these weirdos all spread out all over the place, to actually like sit with other people who could share our journey. It was a lot of fun. What was some of your highlights from the Hack Your Health conference this year?
Well, as you saw at one of the days we were there, how happy I was to get that beef rib from the Texas barbecue place across the street. So I would have to say that was my ultimate highlight, was the Texas barbecue.
That's a great answer.
Oh my gosh, the beef rib, I'm like in love. I now understand the story. Nobody does barbecue like Texas.
It is so good. Yeah, it was interesting to be down there and learn that even within Texas, there's certain different styles and what the exact style of like Austin, Texas was and how they do things. The best place that we found was a few streets over at a place called Cooper's, and they did a smoked ribeye. You could order ahead of time and like wait 20 or 30 minutes, which was unfortunate because you're waiting for the ribeye to arrive and you're filling yourself totally to the brim with all the other meats as you're like waiting for this thing to come out. And it's just a behemoth. It was really, really hard to get down, but it was so delicious.
I went to Cooper's twice. It was awesome.
So did we. We ended up going twice. We heard about the ribeye win the first time. We're like, that's the only thing I'm thinking of. We got to go back. That's amazing. I was able to buy their seasoning, and of course, got tagged in the TSA security line. I brought the ribeye was so filling. Like I said, it was like I couldn't finish it that night. So I wrapped up the ribeye and actually took it home with me through TSA, and that got through. But the seasoning I bought from them did not make it through. They had to like inspect it before they eventually let it go through. But my ribeye made it fine.
That's funny how they only hit certain people, because I bought a whole bag of the pluck seasoning at the event, and they didn't say anything about it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you were able to get through. Pluck seasoning was very interesting. That's our former guest, James Berry, who does that stuff. What were some of your favorite flavors of pluck?
So I've been using the pluck for over a year on the suggestion of Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, because I go to her meetups as well, and her next one's coming up in September. And so I got all the canisters and the 4 pouches. My favorite is the garlic one, and but I like all of them, and I put them on my meat every time I cook it, and I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Especially my flank ribs.
Oh, good call. Yeah, that's a good call. He's such a good guy. He's really fun to like be able to like chat with and everything. He was such a dynamic guest on our show, but to see him actually presenting and cooking in front of an audience, he had the entire audience like captivated. Like that was definitely him in his natural element for sure. He's so good at that.
Oh, I missed the cooking demonstration. That would have been cool.
It was really good. He's very, very good at it for sure. And like I said, just had the entire crowd engaged with him, which is great. You mentioned Lisa Wiedemann and a meetup. I know she hosts some of these, and we were able to attend in Austin as well. And that's when you and I got to sit down at the table and chat and like hear everybody's stories. And you sure have just such a fascinating story to health. So I'd love to get into that with you today. As we mentioned in the introduction, you had to suffer through a lot before finding a bunch of different diets that ended up kind of, slowly getting you back up to health. But can you tell us what the root of the issues were as far as your own personal health was?
Well, we'll be going back through my life because it started at a young age. Um, I I just was always having struggles as far back as I can remember, like 10 years old, maybe even younger. But I would eat certain foods, whether it was cereal or sandwiches, pizza, pasta, were all my favorite foods that I grew up with. But I always had stomach pain and I always had issues and constipation and everything. My mom would take me to the doctors all the time. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They would tell her, give her some fiber, Metamucil, or whatever was, Pepto-Bismol. I mean, all these different digestive medications, over the counter remedies. And it nothing ever worked, but never once did anyone mention it could possibly be what you're eating. Just keep eating what you're eating, balanced diet. And of course, back then, my parents ate meat. We cooked meat, like Thursdays was steak and potato day. Every day was a different meal day, like assigned. And the clean your plate club, we had to finish everything on the table. So I also had a weight issue and a sweet tooth. And so by the time I was 16, I had a mouthful of cavities, still having severe digestive issues. I was addicted to pizza. Like,
Mm,
I wanted to eat it every day. I
wow.
would even go down to the pizza place where we play video games at in the town that I grew up in. And like that was when Asteroids first came out. And we're talking in the late 70s, early 80s.
Love
And
it.
yeah, it was fun. Fun times. And so that then you get to the high school, 16 to 18 years old. I'm you know partying starts, drinking alcohol starts, and back then the drinking age was 18. So we're going to the bars, and I could drink a lot of beer and never feel like I was drunk. And it was the weirdest thing. People would always have me be the designated driver because, wow, Susan could pack away a six pack and still be sober. You know, little did I know back then that I had an allergy to wheat, but it explained a lot. So fast forward to college age, still problems with my gut. So at this point, I'm an adult. I'm starting to handle my own life. I don't need mom and dad's help anymore. So I tried finding my own doctor, but it was the same thing. They'd give me medication. Eat more fiber, they would say. Just eat more fiber. Eat salads, eat vegetables, eat more fruit. So nothing worked. So then I would try the starvation diets and the pills that you would take to help you lose weight, the over the counter pills, which was really basically speed, you know.
Wow. Wow.
And during all that time of my life in college and everything, I always had severe depression and anxiety and worried about everything. And so mood swings were terrible, highs and lows. And it was very hard for me to form successful relationships with people. I used to always say that everyone got emotional maturity handed to them at 13, but missed the boat with me,
Mm,
and because I was the person that, well, took everything too seriously, too personal, or cried too much, or got angry too easily in reaction to things. And people don't want to hang around with that, right? So it was hard to forge long lasting friendships at a young age that many people have normally when you have a normal developing brain. And so by the time I was college age, that was when Prozac came out, I believe, in the early 80s. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I should try it. Maybe I should go see a doctor. Maybe an antidepressant will help me. And that started the road of being a guinea pig of psychiatric medications, like Adderall and for ADD. They said I had ADD. They said I had depression. They said I had anxiety. They said I had allergies, so I had to get allergy shots. So my 20s was all about trying to lose weight, trying to be accepted by other people, trying to have fun, drinking and partying all the time. And then when the prescription medications didn't work, I tried street drugs. And at the age of 27, I almost died
Oh, wow.
because I was at a party and, people laced some drugs together, and I put it in my nose, and next thing you know, that I thought I was going to die. And that ended street drugs for me at
Wow.
27.
Wow. Susan, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
It's not something I tell everybody because, you know, live in a world, you tell someone you used to do cocaine and they're going to look at you funny,
Yeah.
or not want to have anything to do with you, but it was laced with heroin.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and so I decided that's not the road I want to go down. And I didn't ever do that again. So I'm 27. I'm really, really depressed at this time. My digestive issues are terrible. I'm just trying to eat a low fat, high carb diet. That's what they tell you at the gym. That's what the personal trainers would tell you. Eat the pasta and everything. Because I really liked being fit. I liked lifting weights. I liked doing aerobics. I liked bike riding. I did all that stuff as well. But I never could get physically or mentally better, no matter how well I ate or how many medications I was on or not on. And so then fast forward to 29 years old, I find out, I'm going to have a kid. So I while I was pregnant, I put on so much weight. Like by the time he was born, I was on my way to 220 pounds. And
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy. And I'm still going to doctors. I'm living up in the Berkshires at this time, and single mom, don't know what to do, you know. And I was just beside myself, So my first clue of diet being helpful happened around that time, and and I'm still taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. And someone told me about a book called Protein Power. I think it was Dr. Michael Eads.
Yeah. That's right.
So I started that book, and I started just eating protein. And I still ate salads and fruits and vegetables, but I upped the amount of red meat I was eating. So I have this terrible habit of telling people what I'm doing with my life, and then all the naysayers like pummel me. And there's a saying, when you tell people when you tell God your plans, he laughs. So people are the same way. If you tell people what you're doing and what your plans are with your life, I now know it's the crab bucket story. They do everything they can to pull you down and keep you from succeeding. So everybody was like, oh, you can't eat that much protein. You're going to end up like father, heart disease, heart attacks, this, that. So they really scared me into not eating it anymore. So I stopped and then went back to the way I was eating. And I was feeling better physically and mentally eating it. But, the fear of heart disease, like my parents, overrode me feeling better. So I stopped doing it. And so from that point on, the weight kept consistently creeping up. And then I left the Berkshires to come back to the town I grew up in, Westfield, because my father took ill at that time. And I wanted to be closer to him. So fast forward a few years, and it's almost in the mid 2000s, like between 2007 and 2010ish, around there. And I'm taking my father to all his appointments. And yeah, it was around between 2006 and 7. I was taking him his appointments. And I would listen to the endocrinologist, the cardiologist, all the doctors telling him, what he has to do. And it was a light bulb moment for me, because here I am creeping up to 300 pounds, and I saw my future. I'm going to end up like my dad and my grandpa and all the relatives who have passed from heart disease or aneurysms, whatever it was. And so I'm like, I got to do something to change my life. I don't want to be the person that has to take a Monday through Saturday box of pills every day for the rest of my life and be sick and be prepared to die by the time I'm 60 years old. And so my father did end up passing in 2009. And 3 months after that, I met my now husband. And I was at a party with my husband, and he accepted me for my weight and everything, which was kind of nice, because you don't find that much in the world. He's a skinny little martial arts guy, lean muscle and everything. So I was at the party, and someone was taking pictures with a Polaroid camera of everybody at the New Year's Eve party. And I had a beer in one hand and I had a cigarette in the other hand. I smoked too for 35 years.
Oh, wow.
By the way. And so I'm smoking and drinking, and I saw that picture of me of close to 300 pounds. And I was just beside myself with like grief and anger, and like, how could you just let yourself get to this? And there has to be a way to live. I don't think people should be on medications. I don't think people should be overweight like this and sickly and unhappy. We're supposed to be joyful people. And I got on my hands and knees and I prayed to God that night. And the next morning, I received a phone call from my cousin, who I hadn't talked to in years. And out of the blue, she asked me if I wanted to learn how to run. I said, learn how to run? What do you mean? She goes, well, I've been doing marathons and running. I absolutely love it. You want to learn how to run? And I looked at the cigarette I was about to light up. And I said, damn it, that's an answer to prayer, isn't it, God? So I threw the cigarettes away. And I said, yeah, I want to learn how to run. Where do we go? Where do we start? How do I do this?
It's impressive.
I know, right? So I meet her the next day on New Year's Day. And it was 2010. And I couldn't even run from her driveway to the neighbor's driveway without feeling like I needed an ambulance. And 3 months after that, I ran my first 5K. Albeit being an hour and a half it took me to run it, I did it.
Good.
So I started going on the internet and Googling all of my health problems for my whole life, like everything. And it all pointed to nutrition. And I saw the Protein Power book, and I'm like, I remember that book. I did that book in 1993, 94, whatever. And I came across Rob Wolf's book, The Paleo Solution. I ordered it right then and there. And I read it front to back a million times. I don't have it anymore. I gave it to someone who needed it more than I did. So but it started me on my journey. So I went to a holistic, integrative type medical facility I found in Northampton, Massachusetts, and they took all this blood work from me to see if I was allergic to any foods, because that was in the book, get your blood tested, see if you have any food allergies. Uh, don't eat the sugar, just eat meat, some salad, small amounts of veg, small amounts of fruit, da 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 da. In the book, I saw this thing called CrossFit. I'm like, what the hell is CrossFit? Because I loved The Biggest Loser, watching all the tire flipping workouts they were doing. And now I'm friends with Adrienne. That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
She
of
was
course. I
The
was just
Biggest
thinking
Loser.
that.
That was so funny. And so I'm like, okay, CrossFit. Googled it, saw the workouts on YouTube. I'm like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Can I do that? I'm 300 pounds, I walked into a CrossFit gym in my town. There was one there. I was floored. How did I not know this existed? And I joined. And one of the things they told me was, we end up in a nursing home because we can't get up and off the toilet. So you have to learn how to squat first. I couldn't even lift the 15-pound barbell. I couldn't walk for weeks after that first on-ramp class. I didn't think I'd ever go back. And I didn't for like 2 months, but
Wow.
then I did.
Okay,
And
nice.
I've been CrossFitting ever since.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
good for you.
I'm
I did my
strong.
yeah, you can tell very strong. Love
I
it.
wear my little barbell shirt, lift, good
Yes.
for
I
you.
love it. Oh, that's funny. I did my first and only CrossFit class probably 15 years ago, and I'm probably still sore from it today.
Oh, I just love it. I've tried all the other gyms again, like in between, and I don't know, it's just it's the tribe community thing for me. It's like it motivates me to be accountable, and there are times I fell off. So in continuing my journey with the paleo book and the crossfitting, I dropped 125 pounds in less than 2 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I've pretty much maintained that weight loss to now. There have been some times where I've fallen off the wagon and had to get back on again. I can't, for about a 6-year period, I was gaining and losing the same 40 pounds. But that happened because I didn't deal with stuff. So in this journey of eating better and losing weight, I've discovered there's things in your past and trauma and circumstances that if you never deal with it, you're going to fall back, and that's what happened. So I started going to some therapy and learning about how to deal with the things I never dealt with, and through along this path, just to back up a bit, before my son was born, I found God. And I never went to church growing up or anything. And so I have this newfound faith in God too. But if you don't deal with what's in your head, it doesn't matter what faith you have, what religion you have, what diet you're on, what weight loss program you're on, whatever. None of it will stick if you don't deal with the crap in the head that got you doing those bad habits in the first place. So I did that, did the therapy, dealt with the problems, and then COVID happened. And as you know, everybody sort of went mentally downward spiral from lockdowns and just the whole dynamic of the world changing than what we're used to, and all that. Some people having divisions, still have some divisions, but I got caught up in it for a bit, and lost sight of my training and what I know not to do, and I started eating junk again. And I allowed myself to eat the chocolate. You start with one thing, and the craving goes off in your head, and next thing you know, you're eating more.
Yep, that's right.
So I said to myself, I gotta stop this. I gotta get back on track. I gotta get back on track. So I found a ketogenic nutritionist in Canada because I saw her bodybuilding photos and I read about her because I was searching keto. Maybe keto will help. Maybe that'll be the thing that's going to help the mental health better. And I worked with her for 6 months and we're still friends today. She's in Barbados right now getting a public health degree or something like that. And she still lives in Canada. She also lives in Nicaragua. But she's amazing. And it was through working with her that I understood what ketosis is. And that's when the depression went away and the anxiety and the worry. Like I had a normal brain again for the first time in my life. Like I shouldn't say again, it's first time. And I could communicate better with people and I could relate better and I didn't react and I didn't act like a jerk. And people wanted to be around me and I felt like I was smarter. I could do more. I was thinking more. I was like, this is awesome. But I was still having digestive issues. So fast forward to 2022, I had retired from the Postal Service after 36 and a half years. And I retired with COVID. And I'm sicker than I've ever been in my life, sitting on the couch, January of 2022. And I discovered YouTube. And I like, what's this YouTube? And I started watching videos. So I started with keto videos. What's carnivore? Oh, let's check that out. I got addicted. 2 to 4 weeks sick on the couch watching videos with Dr. Chafee's had just literally started that month his plant-free MD
That's right.
YouTube. And
Yep.
so I was watching him, I was watching Kelly Hogan, I was watching Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, everybody, Dr. Boz, all of it. And so maybe that's the last step I got to do, eliminate the plants. And so I did. 2 ribeyes a day. That's all I started with. Breakfast and dinner, literally for a month or so in April. It took till April to finally do it, by the way. So April comes. I'm walking again. I'm better. I'm healed from COVID. Life's going on. I'm retired, and I also had recently converted to Catholicism a few years before that. So I'm going to all these different Bible study groups. I'm like, I'm free, I'm retired, right? I'm skiing, I'm doing everything. The energy I was getting at first with the carnivore was amazing. And the weight loss happened again, but it was the mental health for me, the ketosis. And so then I started watching Ben Azadi and oh my gosh, I'm flaking on her name, the fasting doctor, Mindy Peltz.
Yep.
So I started incorporating the intermittent fasting. And then I joined a group, the Steak and Butter Gang group. So I did that for a while. And that's where I met a lot of carnivores who are friends, and we are friends today. And then I went to Lisa Wiedemann's meetup and I met in person Kelly Hogan. That was like the highlight of last summer for me. And just doing all the meetups now and just feeling great. But I still would, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann calls it the carb ditch. I'd fall back in the carb ditch, oh, a little bit's not going to hurt me. Oh, maybe if I just have this once a month, it's not going to hurt me. and that's where I learned from her how the cravings happen. And then the cravings push you to want more. And then next thing you know, you gain weight again. But the worst part is the mental health also goes down because now you're no longer in ketosis. So I've learned all this stuff, and it's been amazing. And to reverse the bipolar, the mood swings, the ADD, the everything that they diagnosed me with that needed a pill was merely just changing to a saturated fatty meat diet. And my goal now is to be metabolically flexible, so that I can, I would like to be carnivore, but metabolically flexible in the keto world of the 0 to 20 grams a day carb. But I don't know yet if I can do that because I still have too many sensitivities. And so I think it's the 2 to 5 year plan that I keep hearing a lot of the people say to get metabolically flexible. And I'm only in year 3, so I'm still a work in progress, and still CrossFitting. And now I'm traveling and going to all the meetups, meeting fine folks like you, Casey, and just enjoying the ride, and being just mentally healthy.
That's amazing.
You know, no more
Wow.
psych meds, no more anything. I think the only supplement I take is colostrum.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you were actually diagnosed bipolar
In
and not,
2004.
oh wow. Okay. And so
Yep.
all the medications, everything that you were taking for all those separate conditions, all of them, you're off of all of them.
Off of everything, yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
I made the mistake of going off cold turkey, and I highly recommend nobody ever do that.
Yeah.
Wean
Yep.
off with a doctor, because
Yep.
it was not, it was a hellish experience. So I
Yeah.
know
We've done some,
it's hard to fit your whole life story in a few minutes. I
no, it was
missed the
great.
part.
It was great. No, we've had a few episodes with Nicole. Can't believe I'm blanking on her name. Nicole. I can't believe Nicole Laurent. We did a couple episodes with Nicole Laurent, who is known as the keto counselor on social media, and she said the same thing. Like, it's a really good idea as you're changing your diet. You want to, um, you really want to like print out all the side effects of the medications and put them on the fridge, because as you're weaning off of these things, you might experience those side effects again as you're coming off of them. And it's not that the diet isn't working; the diet is working, but these medications will need to be tapered down really carefully. And so that's a really good point, and she's emphasized that to us several times. Is you do not want to come off of these things cold turkey. You want to be able to work with a practitioner, work with somebody who knows what they're doing and knows how the diet works, so you can ease off this a lot easier, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do that. I went cold turkey. I'm like, oh my gosh, this poison's killing me. And,
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to ask about that as far as the smoking went. That last day that you had a cigarette, was that the very last? You went cold turkey that day as well?
well, I did cold turkey off the cigarettes. And then when my mom died in 2017, I was, I don't know, just something snapped. And from 2017, when she died, to 2021, the summer of 21. So what's that, 2, 3 years? Every year on the anniversary of her death, I smoked. I don't
Okay.
know
Wow.
why. I
Wow.
don't know why, but like I bought a pack of cigarettes, and I would have a drink on the deck. Here's to you, mom. I miss you, kind of stuff. I don't know why I did that, because, well, other than that, yeah, no,
Yeah.
no more
Wow.
smoking.
Good for you. That's amazing. You mentioned something earlier I wanted to talk about, the naysayers. You're right. Like when you tell people kind of what you're doing, they seem to want to kind of drag you down. And I wonder if people do that because they care and they really are concerned about you having a heart attack, or do you believe it's like maybe like they're triggered by something and they're triggered by seeing like you doing something to improve your health, and that makes them feel bad about themselves. Like, what is your hunch about that kind of thing?
My hunch is that it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a combination of both. I think we all have in us this innate envy or jealousy of other people succeeding when we can't at anything. I think it's just something in our nature. We all have it. And that's where emotional maturity comes in, and emotional intelligence, when you can recognize the difference and not let it consume you. Because that the crab bucket story is true, I've experienced it, I've witnessed it, and it also comes from concern, family history of heart disease. And I'm sure you see it being in the carnivore world. Everybody goes to that first. High cholesterol, you're damaging your heart. And even though it's been proven wrong, it's still in everybody's mind because the
Totally.
doctors are still saying it,
Yeah,
even
totally.
though it's been proven wrong. So I don't know what they call it, mass formation psychosis or something like that. You tell people a lie over and over and over again, they believe it to be truth. And even when the truth is presented to them, it's hard for them to believe it. I mean, we just all experienced that with COVID and the vaccines.
Yeah.
With anything, it's not. It happens with just about everything out there: politics, religion, network marketing, whatever it is. We have a tendency to get brainwashed and believe the lie so much it becomes in our mind the truth.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. That happens all the time. You see it with, again, the doctors with cholesterol, and also, the headlines that you see are all make that assumption, like this makes your cholesterol go up and this makes your cholesterol go down. It's all just based on that assumption that, you're right, has never been proven true. But just the constant battering on the assumption. If everybody assumes that it's true, then you can say whatever you like about it, and it just reinforces that over time. And so I think that's a really, really good point. Yes, so you described your diet progression and how you went, into paleo and into more of a ketogenic diet, and that was really great for your mental health. It seems like every little step that you take in that direction, which is really common. I see it a lot of times where, people are eating standard American, they feel terrible, then they find something like a paleo or primal diet, or start thinking about their food and start moving in that direction, eventually end up where we are today. But there does seem to be something pretty special about the step that you take between, a very low carb ketogenic type diet into carnivore. For a lot of people, that next step is like magical, and it's not proportional to some of the other benefits you get by making those other steps. When you finally get rid of the last of the plant foods, you tend to see this disproportional increase in all these different benefits. What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh. It was like a miracle, like an answer to prayer. I mean, to not have stomach bloat anymore, to not have that feeling that you're 9 months pregnant when you're not, it like there people who never experience that, they don't get it. And it's a real painful experience, physical and mental painful experience, to have that digestive issue. And they're always telling you your whole life that your bowel movements should be healthy and regular, and mine never were, and now they are. So I've been living my best life these past 2 years since finding carnivore, in every area of my life, my best life. And I'm 60. So it's never too late. You're never too old. And life begins again. It's never the end of your story. And, it's, yeah, I don't want to cry right now, but yeah, carnivore saved my life in every way.
I love it. That's so beautiful. You can feel free to cry as much as you like. We're all crying here as well. It's fantastic. Okay, so next to the cholesterol myth, one other myth that I think is out there that everybody knows to be true without questioning is fiber. And you mentioned fiber before, and at a very young age, being encouraged to eat more and more fiber. When you tell somebody today that you actually healed your digestion by eliminating fiber altogether. You must get tons of pushback on that. What do you tell people about the necessity of fiber?
Oh, well, I tell them they really don't need it. And that we didn't eat plants all the time. Yeah, it was in our past. We ate it, but it was only in times of famine, you know, when we couldn't hunt our food. I tell them that, I don't go to the extreme lengths that some other people say, oh, it's poison to your body, you're going to die, don't eat it. But I try to softly tell people that we ate meat more in the 70s than we do now, but we're sicker now than we were in the 70s. And that's kind of a first clue for some people. But so many are locked into you have to have a healthy balance of all the food groups. You don't want to eliminate a food group. And I don't argue with people anymore. I don't try to shove it or tell people, yeah, this is what you got to do. I just say, hey, look, this is what worked for me. If you have the same issues I had, I know it could help you. Whenever you're ready, come see me. It's just, but yeah, I tell people the fire. I mean, I remember, like I said, the Metamucil that everyone told you to take. And the worst thing, this is a TMI probably, but enemas, to help. And I remember being told I had to get a colonoscopy when I hit 40. So I did, because like, oh, you're supposed to obey your doctor. And so I got one, and I never got another one.
Wow, good for you.
I it was that was around the time when I started questioning the medical community, so to speak.
Sure.
And when I would have mammograms, and I started questioning all these things that they told me I had to have to prevent a disease, to prevent a sickness, to prevent an illness. And 2007 was the last year I had a mammogram.
Mm.
I go to a doctor when I break a bone and need it to be put back together again, like I did in 2018 when I broke my wrist. I don't have a primary care physician. The only time I've used my insurance in the last 15 years was to pay for the broken wrist and to what do you call it? Physical therapy.
Mm.
That's it.
Wow. That's amazing. It's interesting that you mentioned those two procedures in particular. I don't want to get too much into the sticks on some of this stuff, but I have heard whisperings about those two procedures in particular, and it's really hard to find really good information because you like Google search this, and everything you see is like how beneficial all these things are, but you start to hear in the community like actually these things might not be that good for you, and you might not, first of all, might not need them, and second of all, they might actually cause harm. It's very interesting, and again, something that's really difficult to find some really good information about.
Yeah, to me, I heard, even before I was in these groups, I was Googling the need for those two procedures. And there were lots of people out there then that didn't recommend it for various reasons. And
Mm.
I don't know, I just call it answer to prayer for me. God's Holy Spirit told me, yeah, no, you don't need this, you don't need to do, like, I really believe, for me, because I have faith in God, the power of prayer. When in scripture it even says, you have not because you ask not. So if you ask in prayer for what you need, you pretty much get what you need. You may not get what you want, but you always get what you need.
I love it. That's great. I love it. You mentioned earlier the plant foods being kind of survival foods. And I think one of the problems we have today is people can't easily remember what it was like 100 years ago or 200 years ago or 300 years ago. Like like when you go to the grocery store and you see the produce section, you see all of these different fruits and vegetables, and you assume like all of this is super healthy. Like, first of all, the vegetables are such a recent invention. They weren't around like 100, 150 years ago. We bred them and made them. And same with the fruits. Like, normal natural fruits in nature are tiny, they're very tart, they're not nearly as sweet, and they're only available for such a short window of time. I remember even asking my grandparents, like, when you guys were growing up, did you consume lettuce and spinach in particular? And they said, yeah, we consume spinach. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, we know now about oxalates and the harms of spinach and things like that. But then they said, like, yeah, we had it, but we had it seasonally. It wasn't available. You couldn't have spinach in January if you wanted it. You couldn't go and find it. We didn't have refrigeration and transportation and all this stuff that we have today. So people can't even imagine that not only are these things probably not that good for you, but in the past, there would be no way that you could eat them all year round if you wanted to. That was not an option.
Exactly. And that's the other part of the puzzle that I've been working on this past year is circadian biology and the sunlight and the seasonal eating. So people will ask me, you don't eat any vegetables or fruit ever at all anymore? And I said, well, not exactly. I'm pretty much 95% carnivore 100% of the time. And I only will eat seasonal veg or seasonal fruit that grows in the Northeast naturally for the last 100 years that is not sprayed with pesticides.
Yeah. Not that easy to find. Not that
Not
easy
that
to
easy
find, but
to
you can
find.
find it. Right. So you don't get a high quantity of it. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Not so, like I said, I'm mostly zero carb most all year round, but every once in a while at Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'll have a sweet potato with my meal. And that's the other thing I tell people. They'll say, "Oh, everything in moderation." And I'm like, "No, everything in moderation. Do you know that that actually means once in a very great while?" And do you remember when we were growing up, we only had pies at Thanksgiving or Christmas, not all year.
Yep.
We
Good point.
only had cake once a year on our birthday.
Yep.
You know, getting a pizza was a treat. Now there's one on every street corner. you know, so you can see the progression of, I call it the food corporation feeding us non-food.
Yep.
uh,
Yep. And telling us those kinds of things, like everything in moderation, or I see the advertisement all the time, like, you deserve this. You deserve this treat. You deserve this donut and energy drink. And of course, that sounds really good at 2 p.m. when everybody's energy is tanking, like they need a pick me up. And of course, I deserve this right now. Like, it's very enticing. And yeah, you forget that those things were extremely rare, extremely seasonal, that kind of thing. So I love that insight. I do want to ask you about the group that you found. There's lots of different carnivore groups. As of the last few years, you can find lots of different ones. There's Rivero, and there's groups with other different leaders out there. Dr. Chafee, he has a book club, and you found the Steak and Butter Gang. What was it about that group in particular that really drew you in, and what do you appreciate the most about them and their philosophies?
well, at first when I was in the Steak and Butter Gang, it was all new to me. So that's really where I learned a lot about carnivore because of the way she set up her community was she would have guest speakers. So that's how I got to know Dr. Wiedemann and about Anthony Chafee more and Dr. Kiltz. So it was really cool. I tried their fasting feasting program, but for me, it didn't work so well. So, and that's probably when I dropped out of it because I needed something different. But for as a beginner carnivore, it was a great community to be around, and I'm still friends with some people I've met in that group. And so I started to venture off to different things. And I had won a free lifetime carnivore.diet membership with Rivero because when he was asking for startup investors, I said, sure, why not? So, and then with Rob Wolf, I always stayed with him because of the Paleo Solution book. So I was in his Healthy Rebellion group for a few years, and that was fun. And and then Oh, the LMNT also did a startup, so I helped with that. I mean, it's not like I'm making huge money in dividends, but it was just to help them out to, you know, and so there was that. And I think it's the community aspect. Dr. Kiltz's community I was in for a while. But what happened is when you become carnivore and your life becomes better, your life becomes busier and you're doing this and that and the other thing. So I had to back down from all the communities because I don't have time to sit at the computer all the time anymore.
Yeah, good point.
And and so I do belong to so a woman that I became friends with and I'm still friends with, and you met her. We roomed together in Texas. Rebecca Blackstock. She has Carnivore Wellness, so I'm a part of her group. And we have book clubs. So we did like the Brain Energy book this year, and Dr. Georgie's Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind book.
So good.
And it was so awesome. Chris Palmer saving lives all over the place. And I really would love to be a part of that, having stopped bipolar symptoms myself, figuring it out on my own, basically. And so just everything, all the information I've been getting. And so Karen Miles, I met also through Steak and Butter Gang and through Lisa Wiederman meetups. And it's just like her, I'm getting addicted to all the meetups, just going to meetups all the time. I'm going to go to Meatstock 2025. I
Nice.
can't.
I'm planning on it too.
Yeah, Scott, you are going?
I'm planning on it. Yeah, as of now.
Hey, you better hurry because they're almost sold out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah. Scott told me a couple weeks ago that it was over three-quarters sold out already.
Wow. Good to know. I'll get on that.
Yeah, get on that. And yeah, so it's been a fun ride. Just like you said at the beginning, meeting the people you watch and learn from in real life. It's just exciting. It's a tribe. We have a worldwide tribe now. And Lisa's doing a carnivore cruise. I want to do that in February.
Love it.
So in light of all this meetup traveling that I'm doing, I decided to pick up, you know, probably some network marketing so that I can fund all my travels without hurting my retirement bank.
Yeah, good call. That's awesome. I love that. Good for you. It is so fun to meet other people in the community, and yeah, wherever you find that community sort, community support. Excuse me. It is so important to like reach out and make sure that you find that because that will help you so much along the journey. The other thing I wanted to ask you is when people hear that you did what they would assume is quote unquote the keto diet. This is the diet that you see on a magazine cover or you hear about it and it's like the keto bombs and dark chocolate and coconut things and people are melting sticks of butter in their coffee and eating piles of bacon, which again nobody does even if they're doing the keto diet, but that's what people assume. And they hear that somebody is eating that way, yet they're improving their mental health, especially things that start to become really more severe, like bipolar is a great example, or dementia or Alzheimer's. Like people are reversing these things, yet again what most people would assume is this person said they're reversing these severe things by eating these strange things and the piles of bacon and all this stuff. How do you explain to people the benefit of ketosis and mental health and why that's so important?
How do I explain it? Um, well, I use my own experience as an example. That my mental health journey and how I'm living my best life now. And there it was dementia and Alzheimer's in my family as well. I forgot to mention that. So I suggest to people to do what I did also when I found the ketogenic nutritionist. I also got a DNA test done. And I found out that I have the double allele APOE4 gene.
Yeah, wow.
And because I was also just, I would have moments and lapses of memory. And I was like, what is going on? And I suggest to people to read Brain Energy book now that Chris Palmer published it, because he goes into detail that even if you have the APOE4 gene allele, doing the ketogenic diet will stop you from getting the Alzheimer's. And it really is caused by inflammation from your dietary lifestyle, because it did not, and I tell people it didn't even exist before 1979. And they'll throw out there, oh, but you don't know that it could have existed years ago. And I said, no, if you really jump down the rabbit hole of research like I did, it didn't exist before 1979. So there you go. And then I tell people, I can't remember the name of the guy. You could probably look it up. He has 3 nursing homes, and he put all the
Hal,
patients.
Hal
You
Kramer,
have, yes, Hal Kramer, and put
amazing.
all those patients on the ketogenic diet. And these people are going back home. They're not Alzheimer's anymore. And follow the money. I tell people, follow the money, follow the pharmaceutical money, follow the government spending money. Wherever the money is going, that's why they want you to believe what they're trying to tell you. And some people it'll click with, and they'll understand, and they'll get it, and they're so glad I told them. Other people they're just locked into that brainwashed lie they've been told for 50 plus years.
Yep.
And I don't preach it anymore like I used to.
It's tough.
Unsolicited advice.
I know it's so tough. In fact, just yesterday, my wife has been following this person on Instagram, and this person is going through, some kind of health issues, and she's really popular, has tons of followers, and has taken tirzepatide and these GLP-1s, and has struggled with weight, and now is posting videos about like eating. She's trying to eat lean, low fat yogurts and things like that, yet waking up in the middle of the night to have cereal. And my wife just feels so terrible. And she's like, I want to reach out to this person. What do I say to this person? I'm just like, I don't know. Like, if a person's not open to it, they're not going to say anything. So she spent the next like 20 or 30 minutes crafting this like really simple, beautiful, we're not trying to sell you anything. My husband may be able to do a quick consultation. I watch you, and I love your work and respect you. And I think we could maybe help out a little bit, but just do a free consultation. We could chat about it. And she reads it to me. I'm like, yeah, that's about as good as you can do. And later on that night, she's like, yep, I knew it. She saw it, and she gave me a thumbs up, and that was it. And it's like, yeah, you can't suggest, you want to so badly just like shout it from the rooftops to try to help people. And if they're not ready, they're not ready. Yet it's like you said, like Hal Cranmer with his assisted living facilities. One of the most gratifying and amazing interviews I've ever done was an interview with him, with Eric Collette, who runs a Mind for All Seasons. They work with people's mental capacities, and with Melissa Lujan, who is a resident there, probably the one you're talking about, entered the facility at age 70 with moderate levels of dementia, couldn't carry a conversation, already had shakes. She walked out of that facility, returned back to her apartment. She's now moved back to Arizona from Washington, where she was. She never even canceled her apartment because she knew she was going to do whatever it takes, and she was going to do whatever Hal told her. And Hal told her to change her diet. They worked with her in several different ways, and now she wants to be a health coach. She's volunteering at hospitals.
Yep.
At age 70, she got her house, and she got her entire life and health back. It's incredible, and you just want so many other people to hear that and appreciate and know that they can do that too. But again, if you've been brainwashed too much, it's going to take you a minute to come around. It's too bad.
It's true. I mean, if you know about Hal, you must know about Adapt Your Health. That doctor. Oh gosh, where is his name's going out of my head right now?
I think I know who you're talking about. It's not coming to me either.
Oh, but he professor Duke University, and
Eric Westman.
now Eric Westman. There it is, Dr.
Yep.
Westman, and his story. Doctors from all over the country sending their patients on their deathbed to him to help them, and he puts them on the ketogenic diet, and they're not on their deathbed anymore. And he had 3 patients that he worked with, women in their 60s, who were institutionalized with schizophrenia. And at 64 years old, 65 years old, he puts them on the ketogenic diet. They're now living independently on their own, working a job as a normal functioning human being. And so I had a woman at my church who I tried to tell her about this way of eating to help her. And she was like, send me the video, send me the YouTube, send me, and I would. And I thought for sure she wanted to, know more and learn. Nope. And then one day I was there for a Bible study, and I overheard her tell someone else, oh, honey, go to the back table for the pastries. Help yourself. I have type 2 diabetes. As soon as I take my insulin right here, I can indulge and have that muffin over there.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
And
goodness.
I almost just wanted to cry right then and there and die. And it was at that moment I knew that I did not have the power to help these people one-on-one or any way anymore. All I could do is pray for them and hope that they see the light. But they know enough now about me. They know who to come to if they want help.
Yep.
But I tried for so long. So now I just do it this way. People are always asking me to interview me, and and I tell my story. And if it helps one person, great.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I was just going to say that's what we can do. We're here. We're offering this. We're putting this out there for free. You're so gracious and generous with your time today to be able to tell your story, and people can listen or not. It's out there. People can believe it or not. But you're right. Like at the end of the day, you're going to come up against this, and you're going to have to make a decision. And maybe it's not today, but maybe in a week or a month or a year or a decade, they'll remember meeting you and hearing your story and how inspirational all that was, and maybe they'll be ready then. But in the meantime, this is all we can do to try to get this message out and to keep telling people, and keep sharing this. And you're a big part of that, Susan. So just so grateful for you and for your amazing story and your willingness to come on our show today to share that with us and our listeners. Where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Well, I'm on Facebook, just my name, Susan Myers. And on Instagram, I'm Catholic Carnivore 64. Oh, underscore Catholic underscore Carnivore 64. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's it. I haven't much decided any kind of future social media or YouTubes yet. If it happens, it happens. But
I love it. I love it. It's like we were talking offline before we got started. Like learning social media is not that easy. I am not a huge fan of it, but that's what we got to do to be able to get the message out. That's where people are. So
yeah.
you're playing a big part of that, and your story is very inspirational. I love following you and your page, and I'm again so grateful to have met you in person. I know I will and be able to meet you many times over steak in the future, which will be lovely. So in the meantime, Susan, thank you so very much for everything you do, and thank you for taking time to be on our show today. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. And it was a pleasure to get to meet and know you as well. So get on that Meat Stock 2025. We can see each other again.
Logging on right now. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. This has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.